My Laker question for you guys before we get to Clay, speaking of the guard, Steve, is D'Angelo. They're 6-0 when he scores 17 or more. And there's been a couple obviously in the Memphis series he did it where it's like he can just take over a first half and kind of put the game out of reach. What do you think they have to do in game 6 in particular to kind of unlock that? Because it does feel like a little bit of a mini X factor for them when he's playing well.
I would say, especially based on who's guarding him, like empty a corner and let him go. Maybe set some higher screens to give him a little bit more of a runway. Because I do think it's different, one, when D'Angelo Russell's hitting the pull up, but two, when he's able to mix in the pull up and actually get into the rim. And that's something that kind of popped for me early in the Memphis series, where it's like, oh, wait, not only is he cooking, he's getting to the rim on some of these. This is different. That's always kind of been the D'Lo thing. He's always been more of a like a two-level scorer, rather. We can cook with mid-range pull-ups, he can get going from three, and then it opens up the playmaker from there if they overplay him. So if the Lakers can find ways to get him paint touches, if they can set those screens higher up, if you're able to run some action beforehand, give him a head of steam, he can get all the way downhill and find some of those looks. Now he can get to some shorter mid-range jumpers and get his rhythm going that way. That's probably how I would try to go about it.
On Clay, I tried to explain just a general theory I have. He probably has been hurt more than anyone by the Warriors' decision to go to primarily pick and roll offense when Steph's on the floor in particular. And the reason is, when they're getting to their split action, when they're getting their cutting game, where Draymond's sort of acting as that hub at the top of the key, the one thing Clay gets a lot is layups. He's such a good cutter. And if you're getting one or two layups a half, it alleviates some of that stress from the quick catch and shoots. When you're not in the flow and your normal flow as a shooter, I know I lived it. If you're every 5 possessions, you get a pin down, you got to fly off, and there's, somebody in the gap. It's like, I got a jack. Like, it's inherent nature. And so I don't want to oversimplify it to just that, but are there ways that you're seeing, or is that theory accurate? Like, is this the reason that he's been sort of limited? Because it's not just that he's missing, it's that the volume outside of the one game really has not been there.
I think even to bounce off of that point, I think about just the personnel that the Lakers have and the way they've been defending him. And you think about how teams try to defend the Warriors. Like, naturally, if Steph Curry's in the lineup, there's a certain amount of personnel scheme stuff that you have to allocate to stop Steph. And then the second guy is generally the guy that's defending Klay. And with him being off the ball, that's either going to be a smaller guy that's chasing and slithering through screens, and Klay has some kind of height or size or strength advantage, or it's a bigger guy if teams are trying to switch against that, and Klay can just get advantages with his speed. I don't think he really has either of those advantages on top of the Warriors now we're going to try to get our motion going. Let's just go to pick and roll. So I think it's a combination of both of those things. And I was looking at, trying to get his series stats together as I was doing prep for this. I'm like, he's shooting really, really well from three. He's 9 of 29 on twos in this series. And I went through second spectrum, like, okay, is he getting what are the matchups for him to get like those post-ups that you'll see the Warriors sprinkling for him? They haven't really been there. How many drives have we seen from Klay? Like, it hasn't really felt like anything's been comfortable for him. And I was going through the log there, and I think it's 3 isolations and 1 post-up in this series for Klay. And all of them came in game 5. They haven't been able to get him the easy stuff, to your point.
Yes. And I think this is just mentality of a shooter, scorer, whatever. You get a couple easy ones. The 3-dribble, 1-legged fall away from 16 feet that he shoots a lot, right? Those get a little bit easier, right? You're not as tight. Like, how many of those shots this series have we seen just short? They're just short, right? The off the bounce pull up twos, which he makes. There's just like something missing, and I think some of it is he's not getting those easy 1 or 2 layups. This is why I think the transition game for the Warriors, which is to me has been an emphasis, particularly in game 5, is just like, we got to get Klay going in transition. That might be the solution. When he was struggling earlier in the year, and he had a fantastic season, but when he came out, not his normal efficiency, Like, to me, the change was like an emphasis on, hey, where is Klay in transition? Let's get him a couple run out layups. When we're pushing, let's just emphasize, like, get him the ball, have him shoot the quick catch and shoots with full momentum. And I know I called a lot of games early in the season for them. When they got him going early in a game doing that, typically had a high scoring night, 50% from the field.